My name's Major Jen McClary, so I'll say good morning, but I think it's already afternoon there in White Sands. I'm a junior combat analyst at the Research and Analysis Center in Monterey, and I'm also the project lead for a project we refer to as OpenNLP, and that's referencing the open source application of natural language processing techniques. And so our project goal in this, that I'll be providing a quick overview on, is can we implement open source natural language processing techniques to inform security clearance worthiness? So for those of you listening in or watching in, just to give a little bit of brief background, so for the Department of Defense, if you're serving in the Department of Defense, whether that's in the military or as a civilian, it's often the circumstances that a security clearance is required for duty. And that security clearance is an investigation is conducted in order to determine whether the individual is trustworthy in handling sensitive or classified information. When this investigation is conducted, it's done initially upon granting of a security clearance, but we also have periodic reviews every 5 to 10 years. And the frequency of that will be determined on the level of access that you might have. So for example, if you had a top secret security clearance, your investigation might be conducted every 5 years, and a secret security clearance is typically done every 10 years. So there's a specific office that's the primary authority with the responsibility of investigating all security clearances, and that's the Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency. And so they handle the full cycle of an investigation from the initial submission, the actual investigation, the adjudication, which is really the decision made after that investigation, whether a security clearance will be granted or denied. And then there's a continuous vetting process. So even though an official investigation may be done only every 5 to 10 years, they're doing constant background checks with local authorities, various databases to ensure that an individual is adhering to the expectations and their behavior is consistent with someone they would want to have access to classified or sensitive information. But the big challenge here, and I've highlighted that process here in the box, but our greatest challenge is that all of those inputs that investigators are receiving for these security clearance applications and investigations are, at the current time, mostly manually reviewed. So that's an investigator physically reading each one of those documents, and with very minimal automation in the process. And so what we're looking at here at TRAC Monterey, and with this project in particular, is there a way that we can automate the review of some of these documents, specifically open text fields, and we can still maintain that due diligence and accuracy in the investigation, but potentially do some prediction and provide some more insight to the investigator to ultimately make sure we're still protecting the sensitive and classified information, but doing it in a more efficient manner. So I'll progress to slide 2. So this is really where we're looking at, this is the actual methodology that we're looking to implement. It's an ongoing process. This is an open project and likely to become a multi-year project. We're in our first year this year. And so we're looking at what sort of open source natural language processing techniques could we use to inform the worthiness that an individual might have for those security clearances. So there's various proprietary tools already available, and the government has looked into the use of those proprietary tools, but we're really looking at, is there an open source method that we could develop or implement that would potentially get near the quality of output that the proprietary has, or even surpass it. And ultimately our goal is to surpass it. And so here at the Naval Postgraduate School, TRAC Monterey is co-located and partnered with the Naval Postgraduate School, and we work with faculty and students. We're often able to leverage the faculty and students as force multipliers towards our research. And so right now we're implementing operations research, data science, and some math modeling techniques to develop this methodology. And the main techniques that I want to highlight here that I've listed on the left of the slide, much of this is data munging. So we're receiving sanitized copies of applications for security clearances, and where it's been anonymized, where we don't have access to the actual individual's name or identifiable information. And we're determining how do we just simply bring that data in a way that we can then conduct analysis. From there, once we have the data in the appropriate format where it's ready for analysis, we've applied a couple different techniques that have thus far been quite successful. The first being logistic regression. And that's not even looking at some of the open data fields, so not even employing NLP techniques, but looking at how can we receive some of the categorical data in the security clearance application form and start to predict whether or not an individual may or may not be granted or be worthy of a security clearance. With that, also implementing decision tree analysis, machine learning, and then ultimately the end goal is really to get into those open field blocks where people may, applicants may have an explanation as to the answer in a categorical section or additional detail, and using natural language processing techniques to evaluate those open text fields. So ultimately, what we're looking to do is really provide the DoD security clearance investigators and those decision makers some tools to more efficiently and effectively complete those determinations on an individual security clearance worthiness. So I know that was a short and sweet brief. I'll pause here and open for questions.
Hi, Major McCleary. This is Cheeto at TRAC-WSMR. I'm friends with Major Tim, and nice to meet you. Interesting talk. And I was wondering, in the natural language processing part that you're using on those open fields, if you guys are considering using anything like latent semantic analysis or anything along those lines, if you've considered using that.
Yes, that has come up as a consideration, and so like I mentioned, we are in the first year of the analysis of this project right now.
Sure.
And at this point, we've like initial results, we've actually been able to attain the same accuracy as some proprietary methods using strictly regression, like in this case, logistic regression modeling. Mm-hmm. And so we haven't even really breached the portion where we're going to be moving into the NLP. So okay. Even though the title of the project is OpenNLP, everything up to this point has been matching the quality of results simply through regression techniques, and then that's going to be the way ahead is NLP.
Oh, okay, all right. I did see some work at NMSU from Peter Fultz where he had he thought there would be a way to automatically grade exams or quizzes, sorry, I should say, essay quizzes or exams for his students. And it proved to be even better than his TAs statistically, which I thought was really funny. But then they shut him down because the university didn't quite like him because it was a long time ago. But you might look at that. And if you need the name, I can actually send it up through Charlie. But that might be interesting to try and to see if something along those lines. So I think what he did was basically he fed the system good examples of what an essay should look like. And then, so when it got new essays to compare against, it would use SLA, and it would determine how far away the words were from each other. That's basically what it does. And then it would compare it, and then it would determine if it was a good essay or a bad essay. And it turned out to be quite good, actually. So.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I definitely will look into that one. I think SLA seems to be the greatest accuracy in like recent developments for OpenNLP. And yeah, it should be interesting. We do have some control sets, and so we know what the actual determination was for those, and so it'll be it'll be interesting to start to see the implementation of that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll be interested to see your results after a while once you guys are into it. So thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate your talk.
absolutely.
Does anybody else have anything they would like to ask? We have her for another about 19 minutes.
Have you considered using LDA or LSA? It's natural
Yeah.
language processing techniques.
We have, yeah. Those are all, so we have a current matrix of all of the techniques that we'll be comparing. And there's, as you know, Dave, there's so many great packages out there, open source for all of them. So, and unfortunately, a lot of these proprietary solutions are essentially just implementing these open source packages and then placing their mark on the resulting analysis. So we think that TRAC can be a great solution to offer really a free or open source methodology for this.
Oh, Major McCleary, this is Cheeto again. I just have one follow-on question, and this one interests me a lot because I just did my renewal for the security clearance. So I just went through the torture of filling all that paperwork out again. So will this system also be used? Are you guys looking at doing a continuous evaluation system so that it just doesn't occur on those markers at the 5, 7, or 10 years or whatever they are? And it'll do it continuously throughout and raise flags as things come up? Or is it going to really, are you guys looking at the 5, 7, 10-year marker for using this?
So we are focusing on the official application timeframes, because that's when the individual, the service member or the civilian or the applicant is they're providing their input. There's already a process for the continuous evaluation system, and that really, it's basically just a query system where once the criteria matches enough of those carrying a security clearance, it's then assigned to an investigator for validation. And that's even done all the way very low, even at the unit level. So it's often that, like if you were to take a regular Army unit, for example, and a battalion, there's a personnel security officer at that battalion that will receive periodic updates of individuals within the organization whose clearance maybe something was reported in that continuous evaluation program. So they're able to push that continuous evaluation program down to the lowest level. The real challenge and the bottleneck is at the official investigation initially in every 5 to 10 years. And then obviously, you know, in recent years with some data breaches, the process was significantly slowed and a little bit modified because of that. So really that continuous evaluation process is adjudicated and investigated at a much lower level.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Miss Ashley, I'm happy to stay on the line from here if you like, just in case anything comes up. I think, is Dave DiCarlo following me?
He is, but if you were done, we can go ahead and stop the recording, and then we can take a little bit of break until it's Dave's time.
Okay, great.
Either one. Thank you, though.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate everyone for attending.
Thanks.
Thank you.